Okay, so when you open your draft spreadsheet, it should look like this, and we've got draft spreadsheet Wednesday 29th of March 2017. The first thing we need to do is we need to save our own copy. This is to make sure that nobody writes over our work and that all of our work is our own. So we click on File and we click on Make a Copy. Here we can type in a name for our spreadsheet. So I'm going to call mine Mr. McLaughlin's spreadsheet. You can obviously use your own name. Under folder, it's important that this here says My Drive. So go back to My Drive. Once it says My Drive at the top here, we're happy with that. We click Select and then OK. And then our newer spreadsheet will open in a new window. We can say here that I've got a slight typing error, so I can change that here. I can change that T to an A. Or to an E even, if you learn to spell properly. The next thing to do is to think about the data that we're going to collect and put an appropriate heading in here. Now, I'm going to collect house points that year 4 pupils have earned, so in my heading here, I'm going to write house points. If I was collecting the height of each child, then I would put height. If I was collecting the weight of each pupil, I would write weight in there, and so on. The next thing for me to do is to go and collect my data and to input that data into my graph like so. So we can see here that all the data I've entered is on the right hand side, whereas the names here are on the left. This is good. If it's on the right hand side, this means that the spreadsheet recognizes this data as numerical data, and it will use it for a graph. If it didn't recognize it as numerical data, then we'd have a problem. So this is something that if your data is not on the right hand side, check how you've input it into your spreadsheet. The next thing to do is to create a graph. So we highlight all of our data, we click Insert, and then we click Chart. Now here we get 3 examples that Google recommends. We can, if you want to, you can use these, or we can go into chart types. And this allows us to scroll through and look at different chart types that we want to use. Some of them are going to be more appropriate than others. Some of them Google will tell us ourselves that they're not appropriate. So let's look at the column charts here. So I'm going to choose this one because I think this looks most appropriate. But I can customize my graph as well. So I can click here. Now we see house points versus name as the title. I don't think that's a very good title, so I'm going to change that to house points and by year 4 and 5 pupils. Press enter, and we can see that's changed there. Now we see the legend refers to this part here. We can move that if we want to. We can move it from the right, we can put it in the top, we can put it at the bottom, we can put it inside. Now I personally think we don't need this legend because we have we can put our titles in. So if I scroll down, horizontal axis titles. So the horizontal axis title here would be names of pupils. Let me scroll down, and so then we have our chart. And if I want to, I may decide to change the colour. I quite like green, so I'm going to choose green, and then we press Insert. And finally, we can pull that across to here, and this allows us to compare the chart with the data here.